Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, CMHC's webinar on the renovation program offered by CMHC. My name is Brad Anderson. I am a specialist with Indigenous services with CMHC. And I've been with CMHC for a little over 14 years now, working on various projects. And including the RRAP program, the renovation program. So I hope you will enjoy our presentation, and I will turn it over to Ishita for her introduction.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining Brad and I to discuss the renovation programs. I'm Ishita Panchal. I'm one of the specialists with Indigenous and Northern Housing Solutions at CMHC out of CMHC's Toronto office. I have been with CMHC for over 13 years and have been with the First Nation Housing for over 6 years, working with a portfolio of the First Nation communities that I work with, ranging from Sudbury to the Northern Ontario and several remote First Nation communities as well. I also work with the off-reserve Indigenous groups, work with my clients in helping them provide solutions based on various CMHC programs. That includes the renovation programs that we will discuss today, as well as CMHC's National Housing Strategy programs and Section 95 as well. Over to you, Brad.
Okay, thank you, Ishita. So we'll move over. Actually, I'd like to say that first of all, that I'm on the webinar from Thunder Bay, Ontario. So I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on Fort William First Nation traditional territory. And so we'll move on. This is our title page here, on reserve renovation program. So the presentation, of course, is from our group here at CMHC, Indigenous and Northern Housing Solutions. And we can move on, Chris, to the next slide. Or do I move it on? I guess I'm on the... Okay, here we go. All right, First Nation housing programs under this program. There's what we call the RRAP Regular Residential Rehabilitation Assistance Program, RRAP-D Residential Rehabilitation Assistance Program for persons with disabilities, RRAP-C Residential Rehabilitation Assistance Program Conversion, RRAP Secondary Garden Suites, Residential Rehabilitation Assistance Program, Secondary and Garden Suites, HASI, these acronyms, Home Adaptations for Seniors Independence, and we also have the Emergency Repair Program, ERP, and we'll go into a little bit of detail, high-level overview of each of these programs as we continue with our presentation this morning. So we'll begin with the RRAP Regular. And since RRAP Regular is similar to, in terms of funding per unit, we will also discuss a little bit about the RRAP persons with disabilities. So basically the funding per unit for the maximum funding per unit for these programs are up to $60,000 per unit for road accessible First Nations, and up to $75,000 for northern remote First Nations, which are not road accessible all year round. The purpose of these programs is to assist in the repair and improvement of existing substandard housing to bring house or houses to a minimum level of health and safety, or to carry out modifications to make units accessible for people with disabilities, which is the RRAP Persons with Disabilities program. The goal of the program is to extend the useful life of the unit for an additional 15 years per unit. Moving on to the next slide here. Eligibility requirements, RAP regular. So eligibility is limited to homes in need of major repair or repairs in one of the more following qualifying deficiencies: structural deficiencies, electrical deficiencies, plumbing deficiencies, heating deficiencies, fire safety, as well as overcrowding. So those are the main eligibility areas for this program. Moving on to our next slide. Eligibility continued. So these RAP programs are for First Nation owned residential units located on reserve. Units must be at least 5 years old, and the total household income must be at or below the income threshold established by CMHC, and we'll go through that in another slide here shortly. For occupant-owned houses, ownership is confirmed by either a CP, a Certificate of Possession, or BCR, Band Council Resolution. At least those are the two main documents for occupant-owned houses. So loans may be forgiven between 1 to 5 years based on the amount of the loan if all the conditions of the loan are met. The units are funded under the on-reserve units funded under the Section 95 program or the on-reserve nonprofit housing may qualify for persons with a disability RAP. They will not qualify for the regular RAP, however, so keep that in mind. This is a quick map to show you some of the zones where the income limits are determined. This is not, I mean, the borders here, this is just for demonstration purposes. So you can see here that Zone 2 remote fly-in, and we'll go to another slide which actually shows you some of the amounts here. This is Zone 2 North Road accessible in this area, so including around the Thunder Bay area, and Zone 1 South Road accessible. So these are the zones when putting together an application that are considered by CMHC. So moving on to the next one. For 2020, the IDCUB thresholds for the individuals living in each of the units. For Zone 1, you have 63,500, which would be the maximum income threshold. Zone 2 North Road accessible, this would be 72,000, the income threshold for that area. And the Northern Remote Fly-In community, Zone 2, would be, the income thresholds would be at $95,500. So this here is a photo, an example of some RAP improvements under the Persons with Disabilities program. So as you can see here, you can do a wheel-in shower. Okay, wheel-in shower, accessible sink, grab bars, non-slip surfaces, accessible cupboards, and option for a flip-up seat. So all these different examples here, but it all depends on the needs of the individuals that are applying for the program. These are just examples. Going on to the next slide here, we have RAP conversion, slide to assist. The purpose of this this RAP program is to assist in the creation of affordable housing by providing assistance to convert non-residential properties into self-contained rental housing units and or bed units to be occupied by households within the income limits that we presented earlier. Some of the highlights would be the First Nation is to establish rent, which ensures and project viability for the term of the agreement. The loan forgiveness is earned over a period of between 1 and 5 years. And with this program here, there is a limit in regards to the amount that you will need after you reach a project that goes over $149,999, then a ministerial loan guarantee from Indigenous Services Canada would have to be looked at. So anything under that threshold, you will not need a ministerial loan guarantee to access this program. And moving on to the next one is where I turn it over to my colleague Ishida to continue on with some of the other programs within the RRAP. Thanks, Ishida. Take it away.
Okay, everyone. So we will talk a little bit about one of the programs, HASI. It's Home Adaptations for Seniors and Dependents. The funding amount that is available under this program is up to $20,000 for communities that are road accessible. And for Northern Remote First Nations or fly-in communities, the assistance available is up to $25,000. The purpose of this program is primarily to support the seniors. The CMHC has actually made some changes to the program. As the program name suggests, it was originally designed for the seniors over the age of 65. However, looking at the needs in the communities in our client areas, we've made changes to the age limit, which is now 55 years or older that have difficulty in their day-to-day activities, living in their home independently. So the purpose of the program is to support renovations to a house occupied by an elder or a senior to make minor adaptations to their houses so their day-to-day living can be independent and easier. As we discussed the eligibility, first and foremost, the applicant, the occupant in the household must be 55 years or older, and they should be having difficulty in their day-to-day activities. The household income is the same as the income thresholds we looked at in one of the previous slides. So we looked at the income thresholds for the Southern Road Accessible communities. It was $63,500. We primarily look at the primary occupant and the spouse. And if there is a senior residing in the same property or the elder, we will consider the elder's income as well for the purpose of eligibility. So these are the two main eligibility criteria. The house can be owned by the community or it can be owned privately by the occupant as well. So that's mainly, and we looked at some of the renovations in the previous slides. I'd refer to the same example as the RRAP disability, but some other examples of the eligible repairs under this program are things like, handrails to the house, lever type door handles. If the door needs to be widened to allow the wheelchair accessibility, if ramp needs to be, or if the stairs need to be changed into the ramp to make it easier for the elder or the senior or even the person on the wheelchair. Those are some of the examples of eligible repairs. Kitchen, for example, if you need to lower the kitchen cabinets to allow the senior to make it easy for them to access the kitchen facilities, those are several examples. If there are any issues with hearing, there are multiple devices that are available in the market that allows the occupant to see whenever somebody rings the bell, it blinks the light in the home. So just those kind of examples. If the bathroom needs to be converted, like we saw the picture in the previous slide, that can be also done under this program. So the assistance and the forgiveness period for this program compared to 1 to 5 year under the RRAP program is just the 6 months. So as long as the occupant remains to be in the home and the house remains to be owned by either the community or the occupant that owns the property, the forgiveness conditions are considered met. We will then look at another program that CMHC has. It's Emergency Repair Program. We call it ERP. The funding amount under this program is $30,000 per unit for communities that are road accessible, and up to $37,500 for communities that are located in the northern remote areas or the fly-in communities. The purpose of the program is mainly to assist the households or the First Nations renovate their houses for emergency repairs. Just a few examples. Let's say, winter is starting and your furnace is shut down. It's red tech that cannot be repaired. Parts are unavailable because it's an old furnace. You have to replace it. So those are the kind of examples. If there's a septic tank system that needs to be replaced due to the issues with it, that is something that is absolutely required depending on the location of the community. So those are just the examples of the urgency, things that the community will have to repair, whether as soon as possible, to make the home safe for occupancy, are considered emergency repairs under this program. Similar to the other programs, this assistance is available to the property owned by the First Nation or properties owned by individuals on reserve. So we talked about the type of repairs. Other examples are, any doors, windows, or any threats to the foundation of the wall due to the geographical location of the property, or any electrical system replacements that have to be done to avoid any fire hazard in the house. So those are some of the examples that are considered eligible under the program. I will transfer over to Brad again. Maybe Brad, let's talk about some of the advancing measures under the RRAP program.
Okay. Project advancing. Thanks, Achita. I just have to adjust my microphone here. Can you hear me better? There we go. Okay. The advancing process for the RRAP program. CMHC allows a 25% accountable advance for costs to be incurred prior to the commencement of work based on the approved commitment amount. So 25% accountable advance can be worked out with your specialist with CMHC as you work through the RRAP program if you are successful with an application. Okay, up to 50% advance can be applied for based on invoices and receipts received without a site review. So there is some flexibility there. A final property review is due at the end of any of the projects that have been approved, and the advance, the final advance for in most cases for the entire amount of the project that has been approved will be provided upon receipt of the final site review. So in Ontario, those inspections would be ordered through your technical service provider. So you would work with your specialist in order to order those property reviews. And moving on to the next slide here. This is a visual of property reviews and advancing milestones. So this is for RRAP regular, basically. On the first slide, on the first here we have initial property review and work prescription required. Then we move on to This is with the application, and then you move on to the commitment stage. And once an agreement is signed between CMHC and the First Nation, then we move into the accountable advance stage, where you can apply up to 25% of an accountable advance for a project to assist with your project. And then, if required, progress advance can be arranged. And usually, though, we work toward a final review and final advance once the project is complete. Okay, so as you may have already gathered, this presentation is more geared to the Ontario region for CMHC. We showed you a CMHC Ontario region map for forgettable incomes earlier. Each province, each region, I should say, provides different ways to deliver its renovation project and its allocations to the communities. In Ontario, we would be looking at as it stands right now, it is an expression of interest for each fiscal year that its letters are sent out to all communities indicating or requesting an expression of interest. You'd be talking to your specialist, and through that process, there are allocation letters that are provided for those who are successful for an allocation within the Ontario region RRAP program. And we would be looking for a complete application package, and then any documents that are needed with an application would be provided to you. So you would be working with your CMHC specialists on each of these RRAP projects if you were applying. This here is the email address to submit application forms, or you can submit them to your CMHC specialist. And both submission forms are acceptable. Anything else to add there, Rashida?
No, thank you very much, Brad. And I think we can leave the floor open for any questions from the attendees.
Did we want to do
actually, we can run some poll questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can run one of the polls here is which programs have you or you and your community used in the past? And looks like RRAP regular is one of the most used in the communities. All coming in at 16% would be all of the above: emergency repair program, HASI, RRAP, and there are quite a few here present. 28% right now that haven't used a RRAP program. Very good. Okay, I think we'll finish and close the poll now. Okay.
We have another question here.
Sure. Okay. In the chat, there are questions coming in. We can end this poll now. Which program under this renovation program can be applied to a Section 95 program? That would be the RRAP for persons with disabilities, and you can actually apply that program to an existing Section 95 program receiving subsidy and under an operating agreement. I hope that answers the question.
You can also consider applying for a HASI program to Section 95. So there are two programs that can be considered for a Section 95 property. For RAP, for persons with disability, the only prerequisite would be that the house that is being considered have to meet the health and safety standards in order to carry out the disability repairs to the property. I can take this on. So CMHC is currently working on, working on having our client portal where the application forms can be available online as well as they can be submitted using the web portal. But currently you can request the application forms. We have those available in a fillable PDF form as well as a regular printable form. So you can reach out to your specialist designated to work with your community, and they can provide the application forms to you. I can take this question. So CMHC's budget allocation is based on the primary criteria. It's the budget is allocated to the First Nations, and the selection criteria may vary next year, but you can certainly consider applying for RAP application if you received ERP. We encourage you to discuss that with your CMHC specialist. If the budget is allocated to the community, I don't see why not. The income thresholds for every province is established differently by CMHC's market analysis department, so they will likely be different than what Ontario's income thresholds are.
Again, you would have to, I would suggest you contact your specialist specifically to get the correct income threshold for your province. We do consider extensions depending on the particular situation of a First Nation in regards to the work you're doing with CMHC. So I would say yes, there is an opportunity to look at extensions from the typical timeline. Just to consider, however, though, that any outstanding RAP that goes beyond the deadlines may affect your next fiscal year allocation, and just to consider that. You want to add to that, Ishida?
No, that is good. So for typically the RAP repairs are expected to be completed within 1 year, but as Brad mentioned, we may be able to provide extension for another year. So communities located in the northern remote fly-in areas will typically have up to 2 years to complete their RAP renovations.
You can take this one, Ishida.
Sure. So CMHC's renovation programs are available for properties located on reserve in the communities only. However, if if the members or home owners that are looking for renovations under for any assistance available for repairing their home, we encourage them to reach out to their local municipality or the region to see if they have any programs available for home renovations. The alternate suggestion for the members residing off reserve would be to reach out to Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, OAHS. They also deliver the programs similar to renovation programs that we have. They may not be called RAP per se, but they have the programs depending on the budget availability. It is called Ontario Renovates. So if the budget is available under this program, you can definitely reach out to OAHS to inquire if there is an application take-up window open currently, and they can see what assistance is available. If members residing off reserve, the homeowners, they're looking for any repairs related to the disability, another option is also to reach out to Ontario Disability, ODSP, or Ontario March of Dimes, as they may have programs and assistance available. March of Dimes also has programs that may assist with the devices that need, the mobility devices that may need to be purchased for the properties located off reserve. So there are multiple options. The best way would be to reach out to the local municipality to start with, or reach out to OAHS to see if there's any support programs that are currently available for take-up.
If it's approved and it actually adds, is being upgrading the unit, and it should be considered depending on project parameters. Do you you're as long as the repairs meet the RRAP standards, this would be something that would maybe considered. You'd have to work with your specialist and with CMHC specifically on the particulars of a project in regards to some the upgrades being presented. Do you want to add to that, Ishita?
I actually do want to add, the primary purpose of the renovation programs is to bring the house up to minimum health and safety standards. So if anything, let's say an electrical panel needs to be changed because it's dated, the parts are unavailable, or even the furnace needs to be changed because it's old, red tag, or parts aren't available. The primary purpose is to bring it up to health and safety standard, but whatever is repaired or replaced must meet the building code at the time. So it may be possible to cover or upgrade some of the areas for energy efficiency, but that may or may not depend on what your inspector actually has put in the scope of work. So the primary purpose will not be to upgrade the existing facility, but if anything needs to be repaired that falls under the deficiency list, then it may be considered.
Actually, in the Ontario region, there is no number of RRAP applications allocated to a particular community. We currently provide an overall RRAP allocation budget, which you will work with your specialist on within that budget. If you've been approved for an allocation to work on the amount of applications that you are able to get approved within that allocation. So it varies between First Nation to First Nation, and it would all be based on the overall allocation that's been approved for your community, and again in the Ontario region. So the limit of applications would all depend on the budget allocations that you've been provided on your allocation letter. The accountable advance portions were 25% for before work starts, but an agreement has to be signed. So all expenses that would have to be within the agreement parameters. So 25% for the accountable advance to assist. And if you have the invoices and additional supporting documentation, you may be able to access up to 50% for an accountable advance to assist with those costs.
Chris, I actually want to bring focus back to one of the poll questions. I think the second question that we had asked, which of the renovation programs does not require any inspections, like any preliminary site visit? And I see the response that we had was the emergency repair, or the last option. That is probably, what does the last option say? I see it's all of the above. I want to say that the correct answer would be the HASI program. This is one of the very good, provision under this program is it does not require any initial or the final property review, like it is required for a regular RRAP or disability RRAP or even emergency repair program. It may not require the initial site visit, but it may require the final site visit. But HASI program is very flexible. It allows the applicant to remove the work items that are over the CMHC allocation, like, CMHC approval amount. So there is that flexibility about this. The applicant can actually submit the application with their estimate, which is, so we're looking at a quicker turnaround time when it comes to the HASI program. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention for their reference.
Okay, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out from your busy day to join us in this live webinar to discuss the RRAP program. We encourage you to log into our register for the portal on our CMHC website, as there are many programs and a lot of information that you can access on all the CMHC programs that are being offered right across the board. And again, work with your CMHC specialists. And we'd like to thank you again for joining us. Ishita?
Thank you very much again, everybody, for your time and for joining us in the review of the renovation programs at CMHC.
Thank you.